Caleb thinks this defense that Tennessee has is underrated. Wow. So far, the only people that would agree with him were Tennessee's defensive players who got a little defensive last year. Today's tough question brought to you by Zen Sports. Zen Sports is the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares on Zen Sports. What you see is what you get. And with their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign with the code HOOKED. That's HOOKED. That's right. Unlimited 5% cash back. So you get money for gambling. I mean, think about that. Keep betting and keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better right here in Tennessee. All right. Tennessee's defense is underrated. I'm just going to let you roll with this. Do you mean underrated the way they played last year, or underrated heading into this year? Where are you going with this, Caleb? Because you brought this up at our 3:45 production meeting. We have a 3:45 production meeting every morning, a.m. And I said, don't tell me, don't tell me, Caleb, because I want to hear your take firsthand with an audience, so that if I feel the need, I can just completely berate you, which I won't do. But I'm always interested, and I want to go in fresh. I don't want to do the show in the parking lot. So why is Tennessee's defense underrated? Today's tough question brought to you by Zen Sports.
Because, and this is an old trope. By the way, I said this, the South Carolina game notwithstanding. Nobody can defend that one. They gave up a touchdown every drive in that game. I mean, literally, South Carolina, I think, batted 1,000. There were a bunch of things that went wrong in that. But if you actually look at the efficiency of the defense and not the totals, they are much, much better than it shows. So just going to give you 3 stats that matter that I think people don't pay attention to enough. 1.
And by the way, Tennessee's defense should be better this year than they were last year. But go ahead.
Guess where Tennessee ranks in opponent points per play? Not points given up per game, but points given up per play.
Out of 120 or so Division I programs, I would say that Tennessee, as far as least points given up per play, would be in the top 50 at best.
It's better than that. They were number 14 last year.
Wow.
Yes, points allowed per play, 14. Now, yards allowed per play, which I think is the most telling defensive stat, they were top 50. They were number 42. They gave up about a little over 5 yards per play. The reason there's such a gap there, as you and I know, Tim Banks was very much reliant on – Tim Banks had a philosophy of he knew where he was undermanned, and his philosophy was the more plays a team has to run, the more likely they are to make a mistake. And that was exactly how he operated last year. Tennessee was very much a bend but don't break team last year. I hate that phrase. I don't like the phrase bend but don't break. I think it's overused. But there is a philosophy where if you make a team work for points, they will eventually make a mistake if they run wrong players.
I actually hated it more than you until the past couple of years. And with the offensive rule changes in college and to some extent the NFL, it is the way you play defense. It really is. Unless you just have a rare dominant group that can take over. Maybe we'll see another 2000 Ravens again. I don't believe we will. But unless you have a rare dominant group that can take over, that's what every defense is now. If you watch nowadays, they play a little bit softer in the middle of the field, and then their goal is to make a play when you get inside the red zone and there's less space to defend. That is really every defense. It's if we watched football just 5 years ago, Caleb, it would look almost completely different on defense. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree with you. And then here's the big one. Now that we all agree their biggest weakness was their pass defense. Well, they were 61st in yards allowed per pass attempt. Now, that's not good. I'm not pretending that's good, but that's nowhere near as bad as you would think it is on paper. Because what people need to understand is with Josh Heupel's offense, there's going to be more possessions and more plays that other teams run, meaning there's going to be more opportunities to score. So you can't look at totals with this defense because the totals are skewed by the fact that Tennessee's going to score so much on offense on the other end. It's like, I'll give you an example, Dave, in basketball. Bruce Pearl used to his credit, when he first instituted that up-tempo press defense, Tennessee was giving up 75, 76 points a game, but everybody knew Tennessee's defense was good. They were just creating so many more possessions because of the havoc they were creating that, yeah, they're giving up 75 or 76, but they're scoring 85 or 86. And it's because of the number of possessions that this defense is giving up so many points, but it's actually not the lack of efficiency. The defense, again, top 15 in points per play. I think that's the most important stat out there. Points per play, points allowed per play.
It very well could be. So you're saying Tennessee's defense is not great, but it's better than we gave them credit for last year, especially South Carolina game withstanding.
I think it's certainly above average. I actually think it's if I were to grade this defense, I'd give it a B- maybe, rather than the D. I think everybody would have given it. Again, top 15 points allowed per play is the most important stat, and yards allowed per play is the second most important stat. Tennessee's top 15 in one and top 50 in the other. And I mean, so in both instances, they are among the better teams.
Well, one of the cool things I think we're seeing firsthand, and this is neat, whether or not Tennessee has success, is I think we're seeing one of the coaches that are ahead of the game offensively. So a lot of the stats you're bringing up, we never even talked about. We didn't talk about yards per play given up. But now I think those are more pertinent. We're also seeing a defense that wants to make plays vertically to help its offense score more plays. It is complementary football in a way. It's not complementary football in that they're getting the offense, they're getting themselves off the field, and the offense is controlling the ball for 4 or 5 minutes to help the defense. It's complementary football in the other way. The defense is actually theoretically, more scoring opportunities for the offense. The other stat that you threw out, was it yards per pass completion?
Yards allowed per pass attempt, yeah.
Okay. Here's another thing. I'm going to back your point. I'm a big Caleb guy this morning for some reason. How many times are teams throwing deep because they're behind? So whatever that stat is, it would be even better if it's old school Nebraska, running the football and they're up by 10. So yeah, I mean, it's even better because look at Florida in the second half. They had to take shots. And when they hit it one, I'm sure it helped their average tremendously.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Tim Banks played very, very, very soft against Florida in that second half to make them work the clock. So he left those like 25-yard completion routes wide open a lot of times. So that's a very, very good point. One that I didn't think of. Now, because I just saw the message board, someone said average for SEC. Dave, where do you think their points allowed per play ranks in the SEC?
I would say average. I would say 6-ish, 8-ish.
Third.
Wow, who's ahead of them?
Only Alabama and Georgia were ahead of them last year.
Wow.
Yes. It is
So is Tim Banks just kind of sitting back playing poker, saying y'all can make fun of my defense as much as you want, and you can say it's horrible? And his players came out last year, and we did poke fun at him with Jimmy Himes a little bit, if you remember. Like, they're not a number one defense. They said, we got a number one offense. We want to be a number one defense. We kind of giggled at that a little bit, but does he have a point? Kind of has a point.
He definitely has a point. And again, this includes the South Carolina game in these averages. And I think the South Carolina game sticks in everybody's head to say the defense was horrible. But that wasn't indicative of how the year actually went. And the South Carolina game, as you and I know, there were some really other bad factors going on in that game that just, I think that, you lose your linebacker, so you can't do the stunts that you want to do. The defensive line was not playing with their hair on fire. You got your secondary is your weakness, and your free safety is playing with an illness at the time. I mean, it's the worst combination.